Welcome to Loan Officer Success Live, sponsored by Premier Lending, the show where the mortgage industry's top players pull back the curtain. Your host, Devin Dubuque, sits down with industry leaders, top producers, and game-changing mortgage tech innovators, all sharing their unfiltered strategies, bold ideas, and proven secrets for success. Get ready to take notes, think bigger, and play to win, because this is Loan Officer Success Live. Welcome, everybody. Excited to have you guys on. So we are live across the U.S., here from Dallas, Kentucky, Boston, over in Charlotte. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about something pretty cool. It's a program that's helping get clients unstuck, and it's allowing for agents and borrowers to win in a market that has a lot of uncertainty right now. So I'm going to do a quick introduction, just to walk through and let everybody know who we have on the call today. If you're tuning into my channel, you know me. I'm Devin Dubuque. I'm with Premier Lending and host of the Loan Officer Success Live show. Today, we also have Brad Chambliss out of Kentucky, and Brad is a branch manager and also the operator of New Beginnings Mortgage division of Premier Lending. Super excited to have you on today, Brad. We've got Dan DiMatteo hailing from Boston, and he represents Jean Ray.
Glad to be here, Devin.
I'm glad to have you here, Brad, who is the mastermind behind this program. Jean Ray's built this product for the consumers, and Dan's going to be covering what the program is and why it was built. But Dan, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Devin. Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be with you guys
Excited
today.
to have you here, man. Excited to have you here. And then, one of my favorite people on the planet, Faris Faraj, COO for Premier Lending. Faris, brother, glad to have you here.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Same here.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So, guys, today what we're going to talk about is the problem that a lot of people are finding in the industry that we're in right now. You've got a lot of borrowers that are stuck waiting for rates to come down. And it's really not just about rates coming down. It's really more of an affordability issue, right? You've got a lot of people out there that are concerned about being able to afford a property. And it's been some trying times. There's also a lot of noise in the market. And we want to talk about how you cut past that noise and see that there are solutions out there right now to help people get qualified. And that's really what this program is all about. And the solutions, right? What do those look like? What are those solutions that have been created? And how does that create clarity and affordability and the outcome? How we can help agents and clients understand that these products are available and how they can utilize them in real world applications. So those are the things that we're going to be covering today. And bear with us because Brad, unfortunately, has a slight delay down there in Kentucky today. But Brad, I'm going to turn the floor over to you because you were the mastermind behind getting this whole thing together. You said, hey, man, I'd really love to put together a panel to sit down and talk to the world about this program. So Brad from Kentucky, tell us a little bit about why you wanted to put this show on today. Brad, are you there?
Hey, Devin, I am so sorry. I'm hearing about every fifth word. So, and there's a little bit of delay in the audio, but I will do my best to stay up. I'm used to being a couple of seconds behind. My older brothers would tease me about that all the time when I played basketball. Quick hands, but slow feet. I'd steal the ball, and they would be back waiting on me having a sandwich before I got a layup shot. So I'm used to being a couple seconds behind. But I wanted to put this together because it is such an important product. Affordability is the number one concern of everybody buying a house right now. And it doesn't matter what the trends are doing. If the home prices are going up, they're going down. If incomes are going up, again, incomes are going down. It doesn't matter. The most important thing when people go to buy a home is, can I afford it? Does it, can I find what the home that with the tools that we have with rate going up so fast, so quickly. Fortunately, they're starting to go back down now, but affordability is still an important thing. When you've got inflation on the table, you've got everything that plays in to a family's household income. Being able to sit down and say, I can afford that home. And the home that I can afford, does it have the number of bedrooms? Does it have a yard? Is it in a school district that I need to be in for my kids? All of those things play into play. This program is so important because I guess a new term would be it's trendable. Whatever the trends are doing, this program is relevant. There's programs that happen when you have an ascending market, but that program goes away when the values start going down, or you have it, or vice versa. No matter what's going on in the market, this makes homes more affordable. Because when a family looks at if they can afford a house or not, they're going to be looking at that. And the ultimate decision is based on their income, based on their family needs. Does that fit my needs? And the market always adjusts to where that is. No matter what, that is the most important indicating factor of everything that we all look at. We watch the market every day. We look at all these key indicator, consumer confidence. We look at GDP, all these things that we look at that affect mortgage rates, but everything baked in, the most important decision of all is, can I afford this home? Mm-hmm. This is a way that a home that say that, a family with three kids, they need 4 bedrooms, they can afford more with what they've got. So, and I know there's a little bit of delay here. So I want to be quiet because I want to be able to listen, because I want Ferris to be able to go through the calculator so you can actually see that, how that factors out. And Dan, the motivation behind this program is brilliant. I don't know if you can take credit for most of that or not. I know it's a team of folks that put it together, but it's an absolutely industry-wide revolutionary program that I'm excited to share with my folks.
Amen.
So I'll be quiet now.
Well, Dan, I got the pleasure of meeting you down at MortgageCon this year, and I knew you were super passionate and inspired about the program, and that's why we knew we wanted to bring you on to represent Genre on this one. So tell us a little bit about Genre AIM, right? We package as AIM at Premier Lending, and who it's for, why it exists, and just a little bit of the backstory on this thing.
Yeah, Devin, was a pleasure to meet you at MortgageCon too. Super excited to be here with you, Ferris and Brad today. So Genre started in 2021. We had 3 founders. We have 3 founders at the company. All spent quite a bit of time in federal government service. All 3 of them working with the President of the United States in a couple of different administrations. Our CEO, Tim Harleth, who's brilliant, among all the other founders we have at Genre, was the chief White House usher to the President of the United States for a couple different terms. One of his responsibilities, which he had many, was he was the guy that would handwrite every single day the presidential briefing book to share with the president on the specific items that they need to focus on domestically and internationally. Over his time taking on that extremely important role, he saw from a high body of politics with some of the issues that are going to be facing our country and, quite frankly, across the world, specific to home ownership and affordability. And what they recognized was it wasn't actually the down payment that was hindering folks from purchasing a house. It was debt to income ratio. So how do we lower monthly payments, and how do we increase the principal equity that we can build into home ownership to ensure that consumers are seeing the upside and get to enjoy the appreciation and generational equity through the years. So starting in 2021, there was probably 100 different iterations of the model itself. Recently, we officially launched this past October of 2025, which we identified a model where essentially we come to closing with a 1.5 buy down. So if the rates today, for easy round numbers, are 6%, we offer a 4.5% mortgage rate. In return, 2% of appreciation year over year. Now, to dive a little bit deeper into what specifically that means and how we do that, in order for us to buy down a mortgage rate of 1.5, it cost us about 7.25% of the loan value. So I know that Ferris will be going through a mortgage calculator today, but just from a high level, say hypothetically you were to purchase a home today for $500,000, and sell that home in 5 years for $700,000. What would that process look like when working with Genray? Well, let's say hypothetically you put 10% down. So the loan on that $500,000 house is $450,000. Now for Genray to buy down that rate at closing, it costs 7.25% of that 450, which is roughly $32,625 if my memory serves me correctly. So right at closing, we're taking dry powder out of our bank account, and we're not really a mortgage company. We're investing with the buyer of the property to buy down that rate 1.5 points. Now, say hypothetically you sell that house in 5 years for $700,000. Let's look at what happened with that 1.5% mortgage rate reduction. Well, on the mortgage side of the house, your monthly mortgage is going to go down about just over $300 a month. So you're saving $300 a month right off the bat. You're also going to build your principal equity and pay less in interest. So your principal equity is probably another $125. That's about close to $450 a month in savings times 12 months times 5 years. So you look at the cost savings over a 5-year period, it's probably around $68,000. Now, when you go to sell that house in 5 years for $700,000, what do you owe us back for us buying down that 1.5 points? Well, it'd be 2% on the acquisition price, which is $500,000 in this circumstance, times the number of years that you're in the property. So 2% on $500K is $10,000 a year times 5 years, which is $50,000. So at the closing table, when you sell that $500,000 house for $700,000, you would keep $150,000 of the appreciation. You would keep 100% of your equity, and you would write Genray a check for $50,000. And that's essentially how the product works. Now, when we rolled it out in October, we didn't exactly know who our market was going to be across the country. I believe today we're in 24 states, 400 and some odd counties, and growing. But from minor league baseball players to engineers to scientists to teachers to teamsters to nurses to firefighters to police officers, it's such a diverse group of folks that are using the product for affordability, not just for home purchases, but also on the refinance as well too. We had a recent cool stories, but recently we had a first generation family from Chile that migrated over to America years ago. They became American citizens, and they bought their first home, which was their, as it is for many people, their American dream. So the stories and the folks that were being able to help across the country has been incredible. As I hope you can tell, we're extremely passionate about our program, and happy to go in any further direction, Devin. But that's kind of the high level overview, and I think the calculator that Ferris and team have put together to go through the whole entire process with our requirements is absolutely fantastic. So happy to pass it off, and also happy to answer any as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, and Dan, we appreciate you, talking a little bit about the background behind this program, because it truly is amazing to have groups out there like yours that are looking for solutions. And I think that's, a lot of people don't know behind the scenes. They just see we have a crisis. How do we fix it? We don't know. And they're only familiar with the traditional forms of financing. But knowing that there's groups out there like Genray that are always looking for opportunities to help people, right, and provide things that they need, and I say that because, earlier this year we were introduced to the idea of a 50-year mortgage. I don't think that's helping people, right? And when we talk about a program like yours, this is truly a way to say, hey, we have a problem. Let's put our minds together and take the time to figure out a solution. And you just mentioned this. This started in 2021. This wasn't overnight, right? It took time to build out this process. And now you've got a program that's out there, that's live, that's really helping people today. And the number one thing that you talk about here is rate reduction, right? You're actually buying down the rate by 7.25 points. That's real money. It's costing Genray 7.25% to drop that rate by a full 1.5 points based upon market. And that is huge, because that does two things. It either makes the payment more affordable, or it allows for the consumer to purchase a home that's a little bit more expensive. And in some cases, that's what they need. They're missing the market because they can't buy the home that actually fits the needs of their family. And you guys are making that a possibility.
That's exactly right. And thank you for bringing that up, Devin. Folks are making decisions now, based on what neighborhood they want to live in, what school district they want to send their kids to. And this 1.5 reduction is allowing them to make decisions that are a lot better for their family, and seeing it change the diverse groups of folks' lives across the country has been really exciting for us, and we look forward to taking this across the country in all 50 states, hopefully over the next 6 months.
It's amazing. Well, and speaking of taking it across the country, and I know you talked about, Ferris and the calculator that's been built here at Premier Lending to help consumers understand the program. Ferris, obviously I represent Premier Lending. We're licensed in over 30 states, and we are bringing this across the country right now. So Ferris, I think it's a great opportunity to turn the floor over to you, and let's talk about what the Genre program is for Premier Lending, how we're helping consumers with it today, and the real life applications that have been created to make it easier for people to understand.
Awesome. Well, I think if we start off with the root issue, we all talked about affordability, but let's kind of put some numbers on that. Did you know that 28% of the homes today are considered affordable? Since 2019, affordability declined by 44%. There's 46% of buyers sitting on the sideline. And to bridge the gap, your income needs to increase by about $46,000 household income. These are real numbers, right? And if you look at Morgan Stanley, I think in the Builder Association did a study on when, if rates go down, at what rate would it get affordable? And they said that at 5.8, homes will become affordable again, and 5.25, it creates a frenzy. And what's kind of cool about this program is it's taken us directly from day one under the 5.25, solving for the home affordability. And there's a lot of programs out there that's solving for the down payment assistance program with shared program. This is the same thing. The only difference is we're not solving for the down payment. We're solving for the home affordability. So before I jump into the calculator, Dan, I thought it was when you guys talking about that, the reason we aligned really well, I loved when Tim was sharing his story about his grandmother, how she came over, she was on the reservations, she was homeless, and it's amazing what Tim did from going to home, the homeless stage to the White House. And his passion of home affordability is more than money; it's about purpose. And when I built my career, I'm going to date myself. I had hair, I started in 2001, 2002, but I've always looked at the mortgage as the largest liability in our client's balance sheet. And I've always looked at the real estate as a large asset. Managed well, we can help our clients create tremendous wealth. Mismanaged, we can put them in a very bad financial position. So while this program may not be for everybody out there, it is a great program for a lot of people. So I'm going to jump into the calculator. But before I do that, out of curiosity, has anybody, Brad, I know you're maybe you can ask your group, what's the percentage of people in the last 90 days, they had buyers that were looking for homes that stopped buying because interest rates were too high? They said, you know what, I'd rather wait until rates go down. Can you, maybe if we can ask that to the group of people, in the last 90 days, how many times has that, how many times have you seen that?
And real quick, Brad, I did mute you because we were getting some feedback, so you'll have to unmute to answer that question. And then also for our live audience that's streaming in, if you put something in the comments, we can answer you live as well. So if you're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, you can ask questions just by dropping a comment. Let me see if I can unmute Brad real quick here. I don't know if there's anything real quick today, but there we go. Brad's live.
Yeah, sorry about that, because we're really there's a really bad delay, so I apologize for that. But I can tell you, I can answer that question for you. And the folks here are having a hard time. We're having a hard time hearing, but that's a conversation that we're having every single day of people that have stopped looking because it's not affordable, and that's a big issue for just about every realtor that's in the business right now.
So let's talk about real scenarios. So, because I'm really big on, this is something we're dealing a lot of times. People want to look for homes. They look at their monthly payments. It's not affordable. So let's kind of find out, is this a right product? And I just did some rough numbers. We're going to start off with a $350,000 purchase price, assuming our client's going to put 10% down and just traditional 30-year fixed. Today, rates have creeped up. The 30-year fix, you're probably not going to be able to get it in the low sixes anymore. So what does that do for a person that was looking for a home? And we're going to do a monthly payment here. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one here. There we go. I'm going to make it as realistic as possible because I think it's important that we do the numbers. So this is an example of but we're looking at a person that was looking at homes, and they're currently renting at $1,650 per month today. The question is, if they bought a home at $350, put 10% down, does that make financial sense? So looking up at the numbers up here, if the person continued to rent, at $1,650, they can take a standard deduction. So let's say if they're single, that's $16,000. So their true net payment would be the $1,650 minus the $335. So their true payment is $1,315. If that borrower was looking at a home at a purchase price of $350, their net monthly payment will be $1,517. So the mortgage payment is $1,689. You got property taxes, insurance, PMI. But two things we don't usually look at: the tax deductions behind it. If you could take standard or itemize your taxes, so there might be a little bit extra tax savings there. But also, you make goes directly to principal. So the net cost here is around $1,517. Let's see how this plays out in the next 5 years. If the person continued to rent, they're going to be spending about $107,000. Really no benefit, all the equity gone. With home ownership, there's a gain of about $116,000. So net buying advantage total is about $118,000. This is where it becomes really fun for me, because many times, as mortgage advisors, we think about, well, what if I continue to rent? I took the $35,000, I took the difference in the monthly payments of $200, and I invested it in the market at 7%. Well, best case scenario, they'll come up with about $105,000, which is an ROI on their investment of about 201%, which is amazing. With home ownership, the home equity would grow to $313. The shared cost is $70,000. The net equity is $243. That's an ROI on your investment of $597 in just 10 years. How does that play out in the next 5 years? Let's take a look at that. So 249 versus 83. So the first thing, I always like to, when we sit down with our clients, should I wait or should I start considering to purchase today? The numbers speak for themselves. Real estate's the only investment out there where we can make money on money we don't have, right? Because we appreciate based on the value of the home, not based on the down payment. And if we can show our clients the numbers, they speak for themselves. The second thing that we run into all the time, sometimes we're sitting down with clients and we're talking to realtors and they're like, you know what, my buyer would love to get into this next neighborhood. They're looking at, but they can't afford that neighborhood or that better schooling. So what this program does is it helps them increase their purchasing power. Because the interest rates is down, it can drastically grow their purchasing power. In that example, let's say we use a $350 purchase price. And we're going to keep everything the same. That would take the person from a $350 home to a $411,000 for the same exact payments. So if you think about it, this could be a huge difference for people that want to get into the right neighborhood, let their investment work for them for the next 5 years, and then they have an opportunity to either refinance, get out of the loan, or repurchase down the line. I'm going to take a quick pause and maybe Devin, I can go into the main differences, but I think the user cases that we see is that rent first buy, or I want to increase my purchasing power. Should I buy today or should I wait? And instead of us trying to tell them one way or the other, I believe as advisors in real estate or mortgages, our job is just to show the numbers and let the numbers speak for themselves. Our clients can make a good informed decisions once they see it. And as you guys can see, the numbers really play out to the client's favor. One thing that most people, maybe Danny didn't talk about a little bit is if home value goes down for any reason, after 3 years, John R makes $0. And that's I think sometimes, you know, they're only sharing when it's a win-win situation almost. But when it goes down, you guys are taking 100% of that loss after that 3-year period.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, and that's why I think and thank you for bringing that up, Ferris. That's why one of our differentiators is, you know, we're investing alongside with you. We want to invest with you to share in the upside. If you know, if by that 3 or 4 or 5 year mark, there's the price for whatever reason goes down or it stays the same, you owe us nothing. You really just captured the principal equity gain, and you also captured lower monthly mortgage payments. And unfortunately, you know, it didn't happen. Now, if you look across the country over the past 75 years, I saw Chris's question here about rates scaring
I'll pop
people
it up.
out.
Yeah.
You know, buyers being cautious, they're going to regret waiting. Well, there's a couple schools of thought here. So if you look at since 1950, since the 2025, 68 out of the past 75 years, we've seen an average appreciation across America on average by about 4%. So 60 out of 75 years, home prices on average are going up. So are you waiting? If rates go up, then rates go up. If rates go down, say you get into a rate today and rates go down some more, then likely the home value is going to increase. When rates go down, home prices go up, and vice versa. So the sooner you can get into real estate, I think the better. I'm also outside of Genray, I also own a real estate brokerage here in Massachusetts, and we're also in North Carolina as well too. So kind of seeing it both from the mortgage world and the real estate broker world. But the sooner you can get into the game, you know, the sooner you're going to start to build equity in yourself. And I think to Ferris's point, you know, renting versus buying, I mean, there's a school of thought for different, but Genray's program, really what we're doing is we're offering a 1.5% reduction. I think I'd like to bring up a couple of different logistical items too as well, Ferris, as far as how the program works. So we ask folks to, if they finance into a Genray home loan using through AIM and Premier Lending, we ask them to stay in that property for 3 years so that our investment in buying down that mortgage rate has a little bit of time to mature. In the event someone, for whatever reason, a divorce, they lose their job, they have to get relocated somewhere within that 3-year period, if they have to sell or they have to refinance for whatever reason, we really just ask them to pay us back what we initially invested in day one to buy down that point and a half. Again, you know, when you look at the real estate appreciation cycle, we found that over the past 150 years, 3 years allows you to generate some type of return or allows the appreciation to mature just a little bit. You know, even if you look at the great financial crisis of 2008, we've back tested our product during that time and we still returned across the country. I think it was like a 4.1% return. So our product is not a get rich quick for us by any means, because we really don't make any money until there's a liquidation event. So we are tying up our capital for at least 3 years. But if you look across the country, the average homeowner is in their house from 7 to 9 years. So we really don't make any money until there's a liquidation event. Anyway, and then another thing to bring up too, we've seen this a couple times. Hopefully we don't see it too much, but there have been instances where someone's hypothetically purchased a house for $500,000, and then in 5 years, their brother wants to buy that house from them. So they're like, hey, this is my brother. I'm going to sell it to him for what we bought it for. So even if the house was worth $650,000 for market at that time. So we do have the right, if we feel as though someone is selling their house in an unrealistic and low number, to send out an independent appraiser just to make sure that market value is correct and they're not really, you know, trying to undercut us from the investment that we put in. It doesn't happen often, but it has happened where now we have to bring it up just because it's a real thing. And obviously folks want to look out for their families and friends and try to give them a good deal. So that's kind of what we put the caveat on there for. But happy to go in any direction for it. Thank you.
Yeah, and Dan, I think what you're showing here is like, so if somebody wants to dive into it, we can see the first 3 years, you know, that 7.25 stays the same, right? And end of the day, it's the exit plan. If homes appreciate at 5, you know, we have it at 5% here conservatively. If you look at the last 10 years, it's average over 7% in most markets. But after the 3 years, it really also shows you what the home values are, what the balance, the annual savings between that buy down, that 1.5%, because a lot of times we're not considering that, but that's true money in your pocket that you're getting. So if you look at a 5-year exit strategy, the person's saving about $18,000, and if they invested at that at 5%, that's about $2,400, right? So there's also an increase in amortization. So total savings is $26,000. So when you're actually looking at the cost of the program, it's not $35,000; it's truly about $8,800. Again, the appreciation is where the ROI is going to come in, and what we try to tell people about the hard part is just to get started. I think with home affordability, that's the really key thing, is just get started. And if you think you can't afford it today, just go back to anybody who did not purchase 5 years ago or 10 years ago and go, did you regret it a little bit? Because you see how the numbers, it's getting harder and harder to get into the game. And this program allows you to start building, not only getting into a home, but really building towards financial freedom through real estate.
Well, I want to tackle a couple things here too. Going back to Chris's question, rate scared people off, and are buyers being cautious, but are they going to regret waiting? And you showed the cost of waiting in there, Ferris, and that's a real thing, right? Homes appreciate on average, as you guys mentioned, 3 to 4% a year. In some markets, as high as 7. In fact, we've seen as high as 10 or 20 in certain periods of time. But if we talk historical, 3 to 4% is a conservative number. If you go back over the last 80 years, and I think this is an important statistic to talk about, there have only been 7 markets where homes have depreciated. And I pause there only because that's a massive thing we should be looking at. Because if homes have only depreciated 7 years over 80 years, then that makes investing in real estate the wisest choice you can make with your money. And what a lot of people don't focus on is when you're purchasing real estate, it's not like you're putting money in sort of an investment, like putting your cash in that. You're actually using the bank's money to leverage the equity that you're building in that property, right? So, we go back and we talk about cost of waiting. Well, there is a cost of waiting. It's about 4% per year, right? Every single year, that's going to compound, right? And effectively, that's money you're leaving on the table. That means the house that you intend to purchase today is only going to cost more money 12 months from now, okay? Mm-hmm. And in 12 months from that, it's going to cost more. And to Dan's point, when the market does move, if it moves in a position where rates naturally drop, you're going to invite millions of clients back to the market. Simultaneously, that's going to put multiple offers on properties. And now not only has the property increased in price, but the potential for you having to purchase over the asking price comes back into the negotiation process again. So there's 1,000,000% a cost of waiting. And meanwhile, if you're a renter, and I like to ask this question candidly, right? And you set forth in front of your landlord, whatever you want to call him, and you said, hey, I want to stay in this property for the next 5 years. In return for that, you can't raise my rent. I don't care what the market does. You can't raise my rent, okay? And at the end of the 5th year, I want you to share 80% of the appreciation in the property with me. What do you think that answer is going to be? We all know what the answer is going to be. Sorry, this isn't going to work out for you. In fact, let's just go ahead and cancel that lease contract, right? In this particular situation, you're becoming a homeowner, and that means that the money that you're investing in your payments is going towards an appreciating asset that historically, over the last 80 years, has appreciated a minimum of 3 to 4% per year in every single market, right? So 100% people that wait are going to have a regret, and they're going to end up spending more money for the same property. And more importantly, they may not get the property that they want, because when they get back to a multiple listings, multiple offer environment, a lot of the times they're bidding more to get the house that they actually don't want, right? There's a reason why investors are buying houses right now, and it's because sellers are willing to negotiate. And when you pair that with a program like Genre that gives you the flexibility to make the payments more affordable for you, it puts you in a win-win-win situation. So, I love that we're talking about, how this benefits the consumer. But I think these are the types of things that really have to be taken into consideration, because when you look at the history of financing. And then you look at programs like the genre that's being built to help make homes more affordable. Now it's not just an investor's market. This is an everybody market. And that's what we need right now. We need a level playing field that everybody can win on. And I feel like that's why this is such an important program. And Brad, I think that's why you wanted to sit down and have this discussion today. But that's my philosophy on this. And that's why I think this is such an amazing program. And why we've got to get the word out there.
Devin, you're talking about that, and it got me thinking about the security, because the lower payments, when the market declines, it gives you holding power. Like if you're on a 3-1 arm or a 5-1 arm, and let's say you're in a declining market and rates shoot up, that can put a lot of people in really tough positions. So if you're looking for something that builds a security, nothing builds security better than getting your payments down and getting that affordability over time. So to your point, if you want to build wealth with safety, it's worth looking at.
All right. Well, Brad, I know you've got some questions and you've got some real live examples. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you, my friend.
All right. Sounds good. And, Dan, I want to thank you all again for doing this, because this is a true partnership when you are stepping into and helping folks to be able to make the homes more affordable. Because when you're buying a home and the payment doesn't fit within your budget, how do you make more money? Well, that's not going to happen overnight. Or you got to put more money down. If you have no money to put down, what other tools do you have in your inventory to be able to change the equation on what that payment's going to be? That home is an appreciating asset, and as that value goes up, you're going to have equity there. So how do you use that equity to reinvest it now to be able to make your home more affordable? Well, you have to have a partner who also sees the value of that home, that's going to reinvest in that home and reinvest in you, so that you can spend that future equity making the home more affordable now. And that's an awesome tool. That's what I'm saying. It's a brilliant idea to be able to do that. Sometimes we miss the answer because we're asking the wrong question. And so you take inventory of all the things that you have. Future equity is an asset. So, I've had a lot of people that we've talked to about this program. We've closed loans for this. The very first one that we did was a lady that she was a widow. She didn't have any kids. And she was in a situation where she was having to move out of where she was living and find a home. She couldn't find a home that would, in our market, and it wasn't a big home, but she couldn't find one that would fit her needs and could not afford it with where the rates were. It was a 6.875. We were able to get her into a payment that worked. And because there's no other option of being able to take that equity or take it. She didn't have any more money to put down. She had her 10% to put down, but that was it. And, this was it's a live practical example. Another family that's out looking for a home right now. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. They've got 3 kids. They need 4 bedrooms. The budget that they have will only afford them a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house. The only way, just like you saw in the example that Ferris was showing, to be able to get another $61,000 of buying power is to be able to capitalize on the future equity on that property, to be able to get that payment to where it would fit within their budget. So they're out looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house instead of a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house, because of we were able to extend their reach on that. And, and because when I talked about earlier, when rates go down, the market will adjust. When rates go down, more people will come back to the market. And that will make, when more people are in the market, that's competition. It makes prices go up. So when prices go up, that affordability is affected again. That's why I was talking about this product being trendable, that it's really trend resistant, because it's going to be relevant when rates go down. You're still going to be able to extend your reach on what you're going to be able to afford with the competition, other buyers that you're competing for the same home that you want to live in.
Amen to that.
So,
Brad, you brought up something. Yeah, you brought up something that you know that I really think we maybe missed the mark on not talking about, and that's the utilization of future equity, because that's exactly what you're doing here. You're taking the future equity of your property and buying down the rate now, and I think that's super important, because even if you wanted to buy the rate down at 7.25 today as a consumer, you can't do that. That would be considered a high cost mortgage, and there's no way to buy down the rate by 7.25. So what Genre is really doing is two things. Number one, they're giving you a cheat code that's allowing you to buy down the rate further than what you would traditionally be able to do it. But more importantly, you're using future equity to buy that rate down right now. And I think that's a massive win for the consumer, because now you can say, hey, look, this doesn't feel affordable today, but I'm going to take that money I'm going to make 5 years from now, and I'm going to buy down the rate today so I can make my home more affordable today. I think that's an absolute home run, and what a great point for you to bring up, Brad.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to think too, you know, in life you need food, water, and shelter. And if you have the opportunity to own your shelter, that's a really important thing. I'd also like to point out too that we are a Fannie conforming loan. So I just think that's an important thing to highlight, with the exception of a couple overlays, but just wanted to bring that up, that we are Fannie conforming.
Well, guys, I think we're at the tail end here, and so we'll open up the floor for questions. Brad, I know you've got a live audience there in Kentucky, so if anybody has any questions there that we can field real time. Also, those of you that are watching out there in the virtual world, feel free to drop a question in the chat. We can answer those as well, but we'll leave it open for the next 5-10 minutes if needed to just answer some questions. I'm texting Brad too, just see if he's got any real world questions over there. Ferris, anything you want to drop in while we're waiting? You're muted. You're muted, Ferris.
Yeah, I was just saying, if you're talking to someone today, if you go back to your list, all the people that decided to hold off, it does not hurt to look at the numbers. Let the numbers speak for themselves. See if it's a good fit. If it's not a good fit, that's perfectly fine. Yeah. But what you'll come out of, in most cases, that there's an opportunity to make a difference here.
Yeah, and I love that you put that out there for us, because I think it is important to say, hey, this program may not be for everybody, right. But at the end of the day, that's the whole point behind this is, if you're at a point, where you've got clients with uncertainty, or you are a borrower and you've got uncertainty in the market, and you want to see if this is a program that's going to benefit you, if it's going to work for you, we'd love for you to reach out so we can answer any of those questions. I'm going to run our website there for Premier Lending across the bottom. So you can find us at premierlending.com. And you can find Brad on there. You can find Ferris on there. You can find me on there. So if you have any questions and want some one-to-one time just to get a little better understanding of the Genre product and how we're using it, labeled the AIM here at Premier Lending, we'd love for you to drop in. We'll pull up that calculator and look at your particular scenario and walk you through it and see, does this make sense for you? But if you're an agent, I think this is a great opportunity for you as well to go back through and dust off that playbook of clients that maybe were on the fence or got a little scared of moving forward in the market, and just present that there may be another opportunity out there that could bring some potential for them, right? So, I can tell you right now, if I had a book of clients that was on the fence, I would want to get them in front of Brad or Ferris, or even myself, right? Just to see, is there an opportunity in here, right? For you to bring some life back into some people that were scared of the market. So, Brad, I see you unmuted, so I'm going to give you the floor.
Well, I just want to say something real quick at the end. It's this is a product that absolutely gets everyone's attention. When you start talking about the rates that are 1.5 below the market value, that's significant to your clients, as a realtors reaching out to your clients and starting those conversations, because conversations creates interest, and interest creates transactions. And so, it's something that, if you have questions about it, reach out to us. Love to sit down to you. We absolutely love having folks in our office. You don't have to do it in office. We can do it online with a little faster internet than I have right now. But we love having that opportunity to sit down and dig deep into what your options, your budgets are. So, in case in point, that was a 5-second delay on the reaction that I'm seeing.
Well, there it is.
But I'd love to sit down and go through with those options and really it's about it. This is where you're going to, and we don't want people to have to settle. We want people to buy the home that they want for the needs that their families have. And this is just another tool. Like you said, it's not for everybody, but those that it does fit, it's an amazing tool to be able to extend your reach by making the home more affordable.
I love that. Well, and speaking of tools, Dan, you had passed this over to me, the genre calculator. So, if you're out there and you just want to go in and, work through that tool yourself and just see how would this affect you, right? What would that look like based upon where you're at in the market? Is this going to be a program that's going to work well for you? Feel free to go in and use the genre calculator. But if you're on there and you're like, man, I really would love a little bit of help to walk through and look at a real live application, reach out to us. We're going to be here to help answer any and all your questions and see, does this make sense for you? Is this the right way for you to purchase your next home? And if it's not, we're going to talk about what your right solutions are. So, Ferris, anything from you, sir, before we wrap up today?
No, but I'll just, sometimes you have borrowers that may not want to give all their information, right? And I think that's perfectly fine. If you guys just want a quick analysis, just text, put your name, what the scenario is, no obligation. Again, if you're like, well, am I going to get pounded? We promise you're not, but just go ahead and text information. You don't have to give all your contact, put your scenario, and we can get the proposal out for you to look at.
What number do we want them to text? Do you want me to throw a number up there, guys? Brad, how about you? Can I give out your number? You're muted, brother. I'm going to give it out. I hope he doesn't get mad.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'll put it in the chat. Yes, sir. I'll put my number up there.
All right. I think I got this. There we go. Text Brad at 270-668-7126.
Thank you.
Again, that's 270-668-7126. And we'll make sure that we spend a little time helping you, look at this as a solution and determine, is this the right program for you? So, Dan, again, brother, I appreciate having you on today as well. Any closing words from Jean-Ray?
Just want to thank everyone that joined the call. Thank you, Devin, Ferris, Brad. Great to see you guys. We'd love to have the opportunity to help more Americans get into homeownership across the country, and we look forward to onward and upwards. So thank you very much.
Well, God bless you for that. God bless you for that. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate you taking the time to stop by and learn a little bit more about how Premier Lending and Jean-Ray are making homes more affordable. Thank you, Brad, for having the integrity to get us together here and sit down and talk a little bit about a program that is changing lives and helping people get into homes. So until the next time, we will see you then. Take care, everybody. You've been watching Loan Officer Success Live, where real strategies meet real success. Don't forget to subscribe now and share it with your teammates and keep leveling up, because your next breakthrough starts here. If this fired you up, don't just watch success, go out there and build it.